Undervolting. What is it, how to do it, and why should you do it in the first place? Well, let's talk about that. Before showing you how to undervolt your GPU, first you need to know that what is undervolt. Well, as the name implies, it is simply giving your GPU lower voltage than what it normally needs or what it normally takes. Why you should do it? Well, few years back, overclocking was all the rage, but overclocking comes with its one big problem, and that is heat and TDP. And what that means, when you are playing a game for a long period of time, let's just say 1 hour, 2 hour, and more than that, which a lot of us do, after a certain point of time, your GPU will hit its thermal point, or the amount of temperature that it will allow it to go. And that means your GPU will smartly downclock your cores to meet its minimum thermal limit requirement. That means if your GPU is hitting 90 degree at 2 gigahertz speed, then it will downclock it back to 1.8, 1.7 to be under 90 degrees. And if you have ample cooling, you really don't need to undervolt your GPU. You can overclock your GPU, sustain maximum performance for a long period of time. But not all of us have the hardware to do it, especially people who are rocking a gaming laptop. For them, overclocking isn't always a good option, but undervolting is. When you undervolt your GPU, then your GPU will suck less power. That means you will get much better battery life. And sometimes if you can do it properly and tweak it just at the right point, you will not only get the same performance, even sometime more, you will get much better battery life, and all in all, it's gonna be a much better time than overclocking your GPU. More than that, I think nowadays overclocking has become obsolete because GPUs have become smarter than ever, so they can boost up to the limit that they will go. But undervolting is pretty fun. And the biggest question, is undervolting safe? Yes, undervolting is totally safe because you are giving your GPU less power. You are not giving it more power, so it will harm or overheat or fry something. No, you're giving it less power and running at the same speed, or if you can tweak it properly, then at more speed. So with that explanation aside, now let's see how to do it. Now that we are on our desktop, we need two pieces of software to do undervolting. One is a benchmarking software. In my case, I am choosing Heaven Benchmark and a overclocking suite or a undervolting suite. And in my case, I'm choosing MSI Afterburner. Now, if you are using an AMD card, AMD has a proprietary software for their GPUs, and it's almost the same process, but because in my case, I have an NVIDIA GPU, I'm using MSI Afterburner. Now, first what I need to do is open MSI Afterburner. After you open MSI Afterburner, I need you to open Heaven Benchmark. Now, after opening Heaven Benchmark, what I need you to do, copy these settings to your instance and then run the Heaven Benchmark, and it will take some time to run. And in the meantime, we will open our MSI Afterburner instance. So as you can see, I have 1890 megahertz at max, or while this benchmark is running, it's hitting the boost clock to 1890, and it is taking 1031 millivolts or 1050 millivolts to be at the safe side. Now the next thing I need you to do is click the curve editor. If you don't see curve editor, you can press Ctrl F. Now if you don't see this voltage meter, what you need to do is go to settings and check unlock voltage control and unlock voltage monitoring and hit enter or apply and then OK. As we already determined that my GPU, or I can see that my GPU is comfortably running at 1860, 1845. It's like fluctuating, but let's just pick 1860 at the max number, and at 1000 millivolts it's running 1860. So what we need to do is to go to this curve editor. I will click the 975 mark, and I will move it up to around 1850. Now doing it with mouse pointer is pretty flunky, so use arrow keys to set it up to the correct position. Let's just say 1890. Okay, here I set it, and then you can hit apply to apply it. Now as you can see, it's running 1890 at 975 millivolts, and our benchmark is still running. So what we will do, we will target the next 25 millivolt decrement, which is 1950. we're gonna hit apply again, and now at 950 millivolts it's doing fine. So then we're gonna again pick the 25 millivolt decrement, in this case 925. Now I'll hit apply. The benchmark is running pretty fine, and 925 it's doing great. Now we will go to the next 25 millivolt decrement, in this case 900. And we will then hit apply, and again in 900 millivolts it's doing fine. So next 25 millivolt decrement, and that is 1875, and then again hit apply, and as you can see, and 800, okay, it didn't apply it at 800. As you can see, it's didn't work properly. It's gonna happen to you. It won't set the preset at properly. You have to do it again. So let's try it again. Okay, 1890, and as you can see at 875, 1890 it's running plenty fine. Now again let's go to the next 25 millivolt decrement, which is 1850, and then we're gonna hit apply. As you can see, it didn't apply it properly, so you have to click that portion, and then we need to set it up to the right. Okay, here we go. Now we can hit enter, and as you can see at 850 millivolts my benchmark crashed. That means that it doesn't work at 850 millivolts. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna reset the settings, and I'm gonna open Heaven again. Sorry, I have already one instance running, or two instances running. Wow. So I'm gonna hit Heaven again, and the carburetor won't go away. So I will run the benchmark again, and I will get my MSI afterburner here. So our last was 1875 at 1890. So I will, as you can see, my benchmark is running fine at 1850 75 millivolts. It's doing great. So now it is something you can do, you cannot do. You can stop here and be happy with the result, but I like to push things a little bit far by trying to going a little bit farther than what it initially does. So I will pick the 1875 line again, and I will nudge it to 905, just a 15 megahertz improvement, and I will hit enter. And as you can see at 905 it's working pretty good, and we have 875 millivolts. And as you have seen, when we started this around 1000 millivolt, it won't go up to 1905. It was very much fluctuating. So again we will pick, and we will give 5 more millivolts again. Now sometimes because of these small increments it won't register. As you can see, it didn't. So let's try around, let's just say we give it 1920. Okay, now hit enter. So as you can see at 1920 again it's running fine. Let's give it, okay, it crashed. Okay, again it crashed. That's totally fine. Set it up to, now again reset your GPU, get to 875 line, and we will go to 1905. Okay, 1905, because it was doing pretty fine. Now again run that benchmark. It's a trial and error process. You have to try, then something will work, something will not work, and we can see, okay, here we can see that at 1905 it's running fine. Now one thing you need to see, before when we started doing this, I don't know if you have noticed or not, our GPU was around 70 to 75 degrees. Again it's rising up in temperature, but you will see some temperature improvement if you're using a laptop. But in desktop, sometimes you will see huge improvement, sometimes you will not see huge improvement. Now, next thing what I try to do, and that is improve a little bit of my memory frequency speed. So in this case, here is the memory clock, and I will boost it up into 50 millivolts increment and hit enter, then apply. Now you can do 50 50 50 50 millivolts increment, but I know it works fine at 6200 megahertz, so I will add 400 more and hit apply. And this is my GPU's optimal configuration. You can say GPU clock at 1905, memory clock at 6150, and the voltage at 875, which is for me the optimal settings for this GPU. Now, do you have to do it every time when you're gonna boot up? No, you don't have to. You just need to save this to a profile. So I will hit this save button and it will indicate me 1 2 3 4. Now I have already set 1 2 3 4 profile to a certain configuration, so I will set it up to 4. And you see this little Windows icon. If it's unchecked, that means every time you have to manually set this profile, and if it's checked or it's blue, or in this, or if your case is checked or something, if it's showing you something else in this case, just check it, so it will boot in the same configuration next time when you start up. And yeah, now your GPU is undervolt. It's taking less power and running at a better speed consistently with a better memory frequency. So all over, it's a win-win situation for you. Follow all these steps carefully and let me know in the comment section what is your undervolting configuration. That means what megahertz you are running at what millivolts. I would love to know in the comment section, and let me know if you gotten any improvement or not.